Hello, once again, we're live. As usual, I just got a message on Facebook from somebody who's probably asking what the link is for tonight. Oh, maybe not. Yes, as usual, if you've logged in when it's no longer live, that's cool. Just look at the description and there'll be a timestamp or a link to a timestamp where the questions start. It's usually about, I say 5, but it's usually realistically about 10 minutes after the start of the video. I'd like to give people time to tune in. Hello to the 2 people who have tuned in already. And I have to spam the link around to a few places, including the Facebook page. So I'm going to do that. So feel free to go get a drink, get ready. We'll be starting, I'd say, about 7:35 Sydney time. I have an itchy ear. Okay. Let me post on here saying that we're live. We're live. Did that work? I don't know if it worked. Anyway. And I need to post on the event, which I only posted the event like this lunchtime today, so a little bit slack in that regard. Anyway, we're live again. We'll post that there. Let me just check what's going on with the page. Why is that post not appeared? Hello, those of you who tuned in. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Quiz. Videos. Why has my post not appeared? I'll just post it again. What the heck? Has that now appeared? I don't know what's going on with Facebook. It has appeared twice. Brilliant. Okay, good. Delete. Yes, SSU open square bracket to you as well, Pierrot. Whoa, lots of messages. Right, let's spam it in a few more places. Hello, if you're tuning in, we'll be starting in about 6 minutes from now, I would think. Nobody has yet said that they can hear me okay, but I'm assuming that they can. Where else do I normally spam it? Over here. Oh, it's going to be a very similar thumbnail today as it was last week, because I seem to be wearing the same hat, the same jacket, the same sunnies. I don't know, maybe a different hat. Anyway, slightly different shirt. Right. And where's the final place to spam it? Is here. Can you hear me? Okay, Pierrot. Cool. Tonight I'm drinking, same as last week, I guess, probably. Cloudy apple cider. Bought largely because it was $14 for 10 cans. And I'm a sucker for a bargain. Okay, good. So we're going to start soonish. Hi, Simone. Nice to see you again. And what I was getting, my questions are here. Okay. I'm going to rewrite question 1 because I didn't like question 1. I'm going to put a new question 1. Hey, Pierre. Nice to see you. We're starting in about 3 minutes' time, I think. There you go. I'm winging it. I just rewrote question 1 to be something else completely different to what I had before. All right, we'll get started in about 3 minutes' time. For some reason, Dropbox is saying it can't sync for some reason. That's not good. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Nice to see a few regulars tuning in. We'll be starting, like I say, probably about 2 minutes from now, I think. So feel free to rush off and get a drink and some snacks or whatever. It's beeping. Why is my phone beeping? I imagine it's beeping because of that. Okay, good. Later, Matt is making pizza. Have you got a fancy pizza oven, Matt, or are you just doing it in a regular oven? Fancy pizza oven would be lovely, but no, says Matt, just a regular one. Okay, well, we're getting started in about 1 minute's time, I think. Will your pizzas be ready by then? Well, I was going to write a new Who Am I, but I don't really have time, unfortunately, to write it. But the Who Am I was going to do, I'm just going to say instead, I was very saddened and shocked, frankly, to hear of the death of Grant Imahara, who was one of the build team on Mythbusters. And beyond that, he was kind of an amazing engineer and roboticist and seemed like a genuinely nice guy. Died aged 49 of a brain aneurysm today, USA time. It's very, very shocking. Yeah, I sort of followed him on Twitter and been aware of him since his Mythbusters days, and he's just kind of done cool stuff and just, like I say, just seems to be a nice guy, like not really any issues that seem to crop up around a lot of people nowadays. Yeah, it's a kind of, you think of all the things he's done, you think of all the things he would have done in the future, and probably the great benefit we would have got from them all, and just like that, bolt from the blue, brain aneurysm, and you're dead. It's a sobering time. Anyway, that's life for you. No, but it wasn't. I was going to make him the Who Am I because I heard about his death today, and I was going to write his Who Am I, but I literally got home about 10 minutes ago. So unfortunately, didn't get a chance. Maybe I'll sneak him in the future sometime. I was going to quickly put it together now, but I probably wouldn't really be able to do it justice. So just thought I'd mention him instead, in case you weren't aware. Anyway, let's get started, I guess. So just the usual blurb. This is just going to be your standard pub trivia night. Not in the pub, because we can't go to the pub. In fact, it looks like we're going to be able to go to the pub even less in New South Wales pretty soon. It's all kicking off north of the border now. Anyway, so we're going to have 3 rounds. The first round is 20 questions, fairly easy, and then we have the answers. The second round is 20 questions, less easy, and then the answers. And then we'll have round 3, which is fairly difficult / silly, although I think not too silly today and not too difficult. But anyway, if you get any points in round 3, then you're doing pretty well. Then we'll have some Who Am I questions at the end, and that'll be it. All right, so with no further ado, north of the wall, says Pierrot. Yes, north of the river, the Murray River. All right, so round 1, question 1. The 14th of July is celebrated as what day in France? Question 1 of round 1. The 14th of July, which is today, is celebrated as what day in France? And yes, I did just write question 1 because I had a silly one before and it wasn't any good. And this one is relevant to today. So question 2, who wrote the books Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and James and the Giant Peach? Question 2, who wrote the books Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and James and the Giant Peach? Question 3, the Sonata, Elantra, and Getz are all models of car made by which manufacturer? The Sonata, Sonata, Elantra, Elantra, and Getz, Getz, are all models of car made by which manufacturer? Hello, Fiona. You have joined us 3 questions into round 1. Question 4, what is the name of the adversary of Bugs Bunny, portrayed as a hapless big game hunter with a double-barreled shotgun? Question 4, what is the name of the adversary of Bugs Bunny, portrayed as a hapless big game hunter with a double-barreled shotgun? Question 5. In 2010, Lady Gaga, or Lady Gaga, as Stephen Fry calls her, Lady Gaga wore a... That sentence has gone wrong in the editor. Let's try it again. Question 5. In 2010, the dress Lady Gaga wore to the MTV Music Awards was named the Fashion Statement of the Year by Time magazine. What was very unusual about that dress? Question 5. In 2010, the dress Lady Gaga wore to the MTV Video Music Awards was named the Fashion Statement of the Year by Time magazine. What was very unusual about that dress? Hello, Narelle and Stephen. Good to see you. Couldn't live chat until now. Okay. Question 6. Caracas is the capital city of which country? Caracas, Caracas, is the capital city of which country? Question 7. How many enemy aircraft must a fighter pilot down before he is classified as an ace? Question 7. How many enemy aircraft must a fighter pilot shoot down before he is classified as an ace? It's a little bit informal, that classification, but there is a most commonly accepted value for that. Hello, Peter. Nice to see you. The link is on the page every time. Yes, what are we up to? Question 8. True or false? Question 8. True or false? Elephants are good swimmers. Question 8. True or false? Elephants are good swimmers. Question 9. Which is the smallest planet in the solar system? And for this, we're only talking about true planets, not dwarf planets. So question 9, which is the smallest true planet in the solar system? So I'll tell you it's not Pluto, because Pluto, unfortunately, is considered a dwarf planet, not a true planet, because it doesn't sweep all the other objects out of its orbit, blah, blah, blah. All the silly made-up rules they made to make it not a planet anymore. Anyway, I'm not bitter about it. Question 9, which is the smallest true planet in the solar system? Question 10, which New York City avenue divides the east side from the west side? I mean, in a way, they all do, I suppose. All the north-south running streets do, but there's a particular one. If you're on one side of that, you're on the east side of New York, and if you're on the other side of that one, you're on the west side. So which New York City avenue divides the east side from the west side? Question 11. What accidental death, I should say, question 11, what unusual accidental death was experienced by both Sonny Bono and Michael Kennedy, the son of Bobby Kennedy, within a few days of each other? So question 11, what unusual accidental death was experienced by both Sonny Bono and Michael Kennedy within a few days of each other? Kim says, hi, Megan Paul. Good luck tonight at Trivs. Hello, Megan Paul. And hello, Kim. All right, question 12. The Kookaburras are Australia's national team in which sport? Question 12. The Kookaburras are Australia's national team in which sport? Question 13. What's next in this sequence? Johnny Carson, Jay Leno, Conan O'Brien, Jay Leno, what? Question 13. What's next in this sequence? Johnny Carson, Jay Leno, Conan O'Brien, Jay Leno, what? Question 14. Which valley separates East Africa from the rest of the continent? Question 14. Which valley separates East Africa from the rest of the continent? Simone says, at the end of the round, could I have number 3 to 9 again quickly? Yes, can do. All right, question 15. Which 1940 Disney film featured the song When You Wish Upon a Star? Question 15. Which 1940 Disney film featured the song When You Wish Upon a Star? Question 16. Which color did Queen Victoria request to be dressed in for her funeral? Question 16. Which color did Queen Victoria request to be dressed in for her funeral? What are we up to now? Question 17. Which building was the tallest in the world from 1931 to 1970? Question 17. Which building was the tallest in the world from 1931 to 1970? I think that might be the longest reign as tallest building, but I would have to check that. Still, it's a pretty long run. Question 17. Which building was the tallest in the world from 1931 to 1970? Question 18, we're getting close to the end of round one. So in 2010, James Cameron's film Avatar was predicted to win the Best Picture Oscar. However, it was beaten by which film directed by his ex-wife? So question 18, in 2010, James Cameron's film Avatar was predicted to win the Best Picture Oscar. However, it was beaten by which film directed by his ex-wife? Question 19. In terms of musical tempos, which of these is fastest? Is it presto, largo, moderato, or allegro? Question 19. In terms of musical tempos, which of these is fastest? Is it presto, largo, moderato, or allegro? Pierre says, what's his ex-wife's name again? Ha! As if I'm going to tell you that at this stage. Question 20. For half a point each, which three sports usually comprise the triathlon? Question 20. For half a point each, which three sports usually comprise the triathlon? There are some oddball triathlons where they do different things, but generally, if it's a normal triathlon, there are three usual sports. What are they? All right, we'll very quickly go through maybe the first 10 questions again for people who missed it because their husbands were having coughing fits or because they tuned in late. So just to quickly revise the first 10 questions of round one. Number one was the 14th of July is celebrated as what day in France? Question two was, who wrote the books Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and James and the Giant Peach? Question three was, the Sonata, Elantra, and Getz are all models of car made by which manufacturer? Question four was, what is the name of the adversary of Bugs Bunny, portrayed as a hapless big game hunter with a double-barrel shotgun? Question five was, in 2010, the dress Lady Gaga wore to the MTV Music Video Awards was named the Fashion Statement of the Year by Time magazine. What was very unusual about it? Question six was, Caracas is the capital city of which country? Caracas? Question seven was, how many enemy aircraft must a fighter pilot down before he is classified as an ace? Must down or shoot down. How many enemy aircraft? And question eight, true or false, elephants are good swimmers. Question 9 was, which is the smallest true planet in the solar system? So not Pluto, because that's a dwarf planet. Which is the smallest true planet? And question 10 was, which New York City avenue divides the east side from the west side? So we've had a bit of revision, so I'll give you a little bit of time to go through those. Not too much time. Pierre says, bonus point for correct order of the sports. No, because I don't think it's strictly enforced. I don't think it's always the same order. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I don't know. So no bonus point, because I am not a sportsman. All right, let's go through the answers to round one. So question one was, the 14th of July is celebrated as what day in France? That is Bastille Day, B-A-S-T-I-L-L-E, Bastille Day. It celebrates the storming of the Bastille, which was a major event in the French Revolution. Question two, who wrote the books Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and James and the Giant Peach? The answer is Roald Dahl, D-A-H-L, Roald Dahl. Question three, the Sonata, Elantra, and Getz are all models of car made by Hyundai. The answer is Hyundai. Question four, what is the name of the adversary of Bugs Bunny? That is Elmer Fudd. ELMER space FUDD. Elmer Fudd is the answer to question 4. Based on an earlier character called Egghead, which I guess if you got that, you can have the point. Question 5 was, in 2010, the dress Lady Gaga wore was very unusual. What was unusual about it? It was made of meat, specifically flank steak. And I believe it's been preserved, and this is not a joke. It is now basically a giant jerky dress. Sounds horrible. Anyway, it was definitely a statement. Question 6. Caracas is the capital city of which country? That is Venezuela. Question 7. How many enemy aircraft must a fighter pilot shoot down before he's classified as an ace? The generally accepted number is 5. If you shoot down 5 enemies, you are considered an ace. Question 8. True or false? Elephants are good swimmers? That one is true. In fact, some experts believe that elephants colonized Sri Lanka by swimming there from southern India. So they're very good swimmers, which you wouldn't think. But I guess as long as you're buoyant, then you don't have the issue of weight when you're in the water. So maybe they're even more agile than they are on land. Anyway, question 9. Which is the smallest planet in the solar system? That is Mercury. Closest to the sun and the smallest. Question 10. Which New York City avenue divides the east side from the west side? That is 5th Avenue, which I think is where all the fancy fashion shops are. Question 11. What unusual accidental death was experienced by Sonny Bono and Michael Kennedy? They both died of their injuries after skiing into a tree. Presumably not the same tree. I don't know. History does not record. But yeah, the answer to question 11 is basically they skied into a tree and died. Question 12. The Kookaburras are Australia's national team in men's field hockey. I guess if you had bits of that, you can have bits of a point. But yeah, the answer is men's field hockey. Question 13. What's next in this sequence? We had Johnny Carson, Jay Leno, Conan O'Brien, Jay Leno again. Well, those are all hosts of The Tonight Show. And after Jay Leno's second run, I think he's still the host now, we have Jimmy Fallon. Pierre put snow skiing or water skiing? I think it's snow skiing. I think if you manage to water ski into a tree, you've managed to get it very wrong. I think they were both snow skiing. And I guess if you're a good skier, you can really be motoring along. Matt just put hockey. I'd say half a point for that. Because hockey can be, ice hockey, inline hockey, field hockey. And besides, I do mention hockey quite a bit, so you might have just been taking a punt on the fact that it's a sport. And I play hockey. Anyway, question 14, so the answer to 13 is Jimmy Fallon, after all that. Question 14, which valley separates East Africa from the rest of the continent? That is the Great Rift Valley. The Great Rift Valley, which I think is pretty significant in terms of humans emerging. Pierre said, some lakes have trees growing in the middle of them. That's true, but do people water ski on those lakes? I wouldn't. Pierre says, what if I was thinking of field hockey? Well, then you can think of the half a point that you lost. Kennedy was playing a game of ski football. Really? Right. Okay, what are we up to? Question 15. Which 1940 Disney film features the song When You Wish Upon a Star? That is Pinocchio. Question 16. Which color did Queen Victoria request to be dressed in for her funeral? Well, as you may know, after her husband died, she wore black for the rest of her life in mourning. So when she was going to die, she wanted to be dressed in white for her funeral. So the answer to question 16 is white. Question 17. Which building was the tallest in the world from 1931 to 1970? Not too tricky, that one. That's the Empire State Building, of course. Question 18. In 2010, James Cameron's film Avatar was predicted to, that's easy for you to say, was predicted to win the Best Picture Oscar. However, it was beaten by which film directed by his ex-wife, whose name temporarily escapes me? But the movie was The Hurt Locker, and it was directed by Catherine Bigelow. And I think they were both pretty magnanimous about their respective victory and defeat. Question 19, in terms of musical tempos, which of these is fastest? Presto, largo, moderato, or allegro? It was, of course, presto, which means very fast. And question 20, for half a point each, which three sports usually comprise the triathlon? That is running, swimming, and cycling. And yes, I think it's generally in that order, but I don't know how strict they are on that. Okay, so yeah, running, swimming, cycling. That brings us to the end of round one. How did you go? Let me know while I have another swig of my drink. Nine points for Pierre Arch. Not too bad. Pierre says, no, running is usually last. Okay, well, there you go. That's why we didn't enforce the order. 18.5 for Peter. Wow. 16.5 for Matt. 14 for Simone. Pretty good. 7 for Fiona. Not too bad. All righty. Let's go moving on to round two. Davey got 13 but arrived late. I did do a run through of the first 10 questions, which may have helped. Pierre got 15.5. Kim got 17.5. Narelle got 14.5. And Stephen got 16.5. Ooh, that's exciting. When was the last time Stephen was ahead of Narelle at the end of the first round? Luck. Let's see if he can hold it together in the second round. As we get started with question 1 of round 2. Which car brand takes its name from the Latin for I roll? As in R-O-L-L, I roll along. Round 2, question 1. Which car brand is from the Latin for I roll? Narelle says Stephen was ahead last week by 1 point at the end of the first round. Fair enough. Okay, question 2. Which continent has the highest average elevation above sea level? Question 2. Which continent has the highest average elevation above sea level? But I flogged him by 4 in the end, says Narelle. Well, maybe he'll stay ahead of you this week. Right. Question 3. Madonna's 10th album was titled What on a Dance Floor? Question 3. Madonna's 10th album was titled What on a Dance Floor? 17.5 from Kim. Did I mention that earlier? That's pretty good. Question 4. What was the site of the USA's worst nuclear disaster, which occurred in 1979? Question 4. What was the site of the USA's worst nuclear disaster, which occurred in 1979? I don't want the city or the state or anything like that. There's a particular location where that happened. Simone says, mutton dressed as lamb on a dance floor. Somewhat cruelly. We don't know how long ago her 10th album was. Anyway, she's probably up to about 50 albums by now. Question 5. Who played the role of Andy Dufresne in the 1994 film The Shawshank Redemption, which seems to always top the best movies in the world list, or most popular best movies? Question 5. Who played the role of Andy Dufresne in the 1994 film The Shawshank Redemption, which, if I'm not mistaken, was written by Stephen King. Which is based on a 1982 Stephen King novel. That's true. It's not really what you expect from Stephen King, but he's also very prolific, as we know from an earlier question. Written by hubby, says Narelle. All right. Question 6. In which year did Concorde make its final commercial flight? That's right, elated Matt. No bonus points, but the novel was called Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption. But that doesn't help you answer question 5. Question 6 was, in which year did Concorde make its final commercial flight? Very sad story about Concorde. Excellent, perfect service record, and then they have one accident due to a bird strike or engine flare out or something, and that was the end of it. Anyway, question 7. The original Terminator in the film of the same name was sent back in time to kill which female character? The original Terminator in the film of the same name was sent back in time to kill which female character? We've had a 90s film, now we've got an 80s film. Anyway, question 8. According to legend, who was the son of Uther Pendragon? Question 8. According to legend, who was the son of Uther Pendragon? U-T-H-E-R space P-E-N-D-R-A-G-O-N. Uther Pendragon. Who was his famous son, according to legend? Question 9. Said to be the driest place on Earth, the Atacama Desert is in which country? Question 9. Said to be the driest place on Earth, the Atacama Desert is in which country? That's A-T-A-C-A-M-A, Atacama. You'll be very pleased to hear that I have finally finished binge watching all of Seinfeld on Prime Video. It's 9 seasons I've watched now, and about halfway through season 8, I pretty much just wanted it to be over, but it is now over, so there won't be any more Seinfeld questions after this one. Question 10. In Seinfeld, the actor who plays Frank Costanza, which is George's dad, is the real-life father of which real-life actor? Well, I might have to say he was the real-life father, because I believe he's passed away now. Question 10, in Seinfeld, the actor who plays Frank Costanza, which is George's dad in the show, is the real-life father of which real-life actor? Matt says, I've been to the Atacama. It was very dry. It's not a great anecdote, is it, Matt? Question 11. The sum of all angles in a triangle add up to how many degrees? Question 11. The sum of all angles in a triangle add up to how many degrees? Question 12. Which country in South America takes its name from the word for silver? Oh no, I finished my drink. Hurrah, here's one I prepared earlier. Question 12. Which country in South America takes its name from the word for silver? Question 13. Which chess grandmaster was beaten by the computer Deep Blue in 1997? Question 13. Which chess grandmaster was beaten by the computer Deep Blue in 1997? Pretty sure it's the first time a grandmaster has been beaten by a computer at chess. And when we are all enslaved by robots in the future at some point, we will probably look back at that point and go, ah, yes, that's the point where it all started to go wrong. But question 13, which chess grandmaster was beaten by the computer Deep Blue in 1997? And my phone is beeping. Why? People posting things that are not related to trivia. Question 14. Which early science fiction novel describes a time in the future when mankind has evolved into two different races, the Eloi and the Morlocks, Eloi and Morlocks. For that, you can have 1 point for the author and 1 point for the title of the novel. Excuse me, cider burp. Question 14 was, which early science fiction novel describes a time in the future when mankind has evolved into two different races, the Eloi and the Morlocks? You can have 1 point for the author and 1 point for the title of the novel. Give you a sec to think about that one. While I pour my drink down my beard. Question 15. How long and how wide in feet is a tournament standard full-size snooker table? So how long and how wide in feet is a tournament standard full-size snooker table? That's question 15. So the official size is very precise, but I will also accept the general, the size they're referred to by convention. So you need the length and the width for that one. So question 16. Who was the producer of both the Beatles' Abbey Road album and Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon? That's almost a round 3 question now I think about it. Anyway, question 16. Who was the producer of both the Beatles' Abbey Road album and Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon? Sort of have to think of who was the house producer at that time. Probably not gonna. Okay, that question maybe, hang on. Right, I'm going to have to rephrase that question. I had a little thing in my brain that made me think, maybe just check that little fact. So let's, all right, question 16, I'm going to rephrase slightly. Who was the assistant engineer on the Beatles' Abbey Road album and also produced Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon? So question 16, who was the assistant engineer of the Beatles' Abbey Road album and Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon? Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, like every trivia question, if you know what I'm talking about, then you know the answer, don't you? He was sort of known as the in-house producer at Abbey Road for quite a while. Had quite an effect on music. I'm going to stop giving vague hints now. Question 17. By area, what is the second largest country in the world? Question 16 was that one. Question 17 was, by area, what is the second largest country in the world? Question 18. Slightly wordy one. I should clarify for question 17, in order to be a country, you need to have a native population. You need to have people living on you. You have, yes. Anyway, good. So question 17 was, by area, what is the second largest country in the world? Question 18, which artistic movement was pioneered by Pablo Picasso and Georges Braque in the early 20th century, heavily influenced by the later works of Paul Cézanne? That could maybe also be a round 3 question. Anyway, we're getting towards the end of round 2. It's got to be fairly difficult. Question 18. Which artistic movement was pioneered by Pablo Picasso and Georges Braque in the early 20th century, heavily influenced by the later works of Paul Cézanne? David Jones says, so not Atlantis. I think Atlantis wasn't very big, even before it fell into the sea, if it ever existed at all. What are we up to? Question 19. After solid, liquid, and gas, what is the fourth state of matter as found in stars, nuclear reactors, and certain types of televisions? Question 19. After solid, liquid, and gas, what is the fourth state of matter as found in stars, nuclear reactors, and certain types of televisions? It's a bit of a giveaway, that one. And question 20, for 1 point each, which two seas separate Australia from Indonesia and New Guinea? Question 20, for 1 point each, which two seas separate Australia from Indonesia and New Guinea? I'm bending over slightly because I'm turning my heater off because my feet feel like they're on fire. All right. Kim has asked for question 3 again, and I realized at the end of the first round I didn't ask if anybody wanted any repeated or clarified. So if you do want any repeated or clarified from round 2, let me know. And question 3 was, Madonna's 10th album was called What on a Dance Floor? That was question 3 of round 2. All right, I'll give you another little minute. And just to clarify, question 17, by area, what is the second largest country in the world? Antarctica is not a country because it doesn't have a native population. So we want actual countries, please. Thank you. Righto. Let's go through. Well, it's suddenly very quiet in here with that heater on. It's a bit spooky and eerie and echoey. Question. Okay, let's go through the answers to round 2. If nobody needs any more repeated, everyone looks pretty happy. So round 2, question 1 was, which car brand takes its name from the Latin for I roll? What about the penguins? Penguins don't vote, so they're not citizens. I don't know. Question 1, which car brand is from the Latin for I roll? That is Volvo. Volvo is apparently from the Latin for I roll. Question 2, which continent has the highest average elevation above sea level? That is Antarctica this time. Question 2, the continent with the highest average elevation is Antarctica. It's also the coldest, the driest, and the windiest. Stop being penguinist. Question 3, Madonna's 10th album was called Confessions on a Dance Floor. Not Murder on a Dance Floor, that was somebody else. So question 3, the answer is Confessions. Question 4, what was the site of the USA's worst nuclear disaster in 1979? That was, of course, 3 Mile Island. I don't think anybody died directly as a result of it, but it was still fairly bad. I don't know. I should stop randomly throwing half-remembered facts into the supplementary info of questions. Google that in your own time, but I think it was... Yes. Anyway, there's maybe some cancer risk around it. Anyway, the answer is 3 Mile Island. 3 Mile Island. Question 5, who played the role of Andy Dufresne? That was Tim Robbins. Sophie Ellis Bextor. Oh, yeah, that was probably Murder on the Dance Floor. You're probably right. Question 6, in which year did Concorde make its final commercial flight? That was 2003. I think there's been some charity flights since then, maybe, but, you know, the proper normal scheduled flight was 2003. Question 7, the original Terminator in the film of the same name was sent back to kill Sarah Connor. That did not sound like Terminator at all. But it's Sarah Connor, who, of course, appears in the other movies as well. Question 8, according to legend, who is the son of Uther Pendragon? Most famously, King Arthur was the son of Uther Pendragon. He also had a brother called Madoc. So if you had Madoc down, then you can also have the point, I suppose. But King Arthur is really the answer to round 8. Question 9: the Atacama Desert is in which country? It is in Chile. I answered her name in the same voice myself, says Pierre. Yeah, you pretty much have to. Sarah Connor. Question, what are we up to? 10. Or so the answer to the Atacama Desert is in Chile for question 9. Question 10, in Seinfeld, that actor is Jerry Stiller, but the question was, he's the real-life father of which actor? So he's the real-life father of Ben Stiller. So the answer to question 10 is Ben Stiller, but I believe Jerry Stiller has passed away, I think, this year, actually. I've got to stop throwing in extra facts and then having to look them up. Jerry Stiller did pass away May the 11th, 2020. Serenity now. Okay, question 11. The sum of all angles in a triangle add up to how many degrees? It's 180 degrees, which makes sense if you think about a right angle triangle. You've got 90 degrees and then 245, so it's 180 degrees. It's weird because you think if it was like a circle, then it should be 360. But anyway. Question 12. Which country in South America takes its name from the word for silver? Well, I think maybe Latin for silver is argent. So the country in South America is Argentina. Question 13. Which chess grandmaster was beaten by the supercomputer Deep Blue? That was Garry Kasparov. Garry Kasparov. Question 14. Which early science fiction novel described those two races? That is The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. And you got a point for The Time Machine, and you got a point for H.G. Wells. I also say 180 in the correct voice as well. Some things you just got to say. Like I can't say 69 dudes without saying dudes after it. It's just one of those things. 17. Who was the... Hang on. No, 15. What are we up to now? I'm getting confused. We had The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. Question 15. How long and how wide in feet is a tournament standard full-size snooker table? So the official standard is 11 feet, 8.5 inches by 5 feet, 10 inches, but they're generally referred to as 12 foot by 6 foot. So if you had 12 foot by 6 foot, that's fine. If you had 11 feet, 8.5 inches by 5 feet, 10 inches, then that's also fine. Question 16, who was the assistant engineer of the Beatles' Abbey Road album and the producer of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon? That was, of course, Alan Parsons, as in the Alan Parsons Project. Various other things. Had very big influence behind the scene in music, as well as making some pretty good songs. Question 17, by area, what is the second largest country in the world? Well, Russia is first. China is third. Canada is second. Question 18. Which artistic movement was pioneered by Pablo Picasso and Georges Braque in the early 20th century? That was Cubism. C-U-B-I-S-M. Cubism. Question 19, kind of given away by one of the clues. After solid, liquid, and gas, what is the fourth state of matter? Certain types of television gives that one away. It is plasma. Plasma is the fourth type of matter. It's sort of like a superheated gas, but it's a totally different thing. Everyone forgets Canada. That's true. After solid, liquid, what was that song? Blame Canada? I can't even remember what it was from. It was from one of the South Park things. Question 20 for 1 point each. Which two seas separate Australia from Indonesia and New Guinea? They are the Timor Sea, T-I-M-O-R, as in East Timor, and the Arafura Sea, A-R-A-F-U-R-A. So Timor Sea and Arafura Sea. Was Blame Canada from South Park? Oh, it's from the South Park movie. Okay. Not Team America, whatever they're called. Okay. So for question 20, 1 point each, it was the Timor Sea and the Arafura Sea. How did you go in round 2? 6 points for Pierrot. Not too bad. I think round 2 was a little tough this time. It certainly got tough towards the end. $13 from Matt, 12 from Kim, 13 again from Davey. That's not too bad. I think that's about right for round 2. Get about a quarter of them not correct. 9 from Pierre. A collapse from Peter. Second round collapse. 12 points. Missed a couple by that much. That's another thing you have to say in a particular way. You can't say, I missed it by that much. You have to say, I missed it by that much. I thought the start was tough, said Pierre. None of the first 6. Narelle 15, Stephen 13, and they're even as we enter the third round. 10 for Simone. It was a tough one. 9 for Pierre. Yeah, it was a bit tough. That one. You didn't get any of the first 6. What were the first 6? Latin, geography, albums, history, movies, transport. Pretty varied. All right, let's go into round 3, which I remind you is traditionally our silly / very difficult / trick question round. Once again, I don't think there's any trick questions, but if there were, would I tell you? So yeah, if you get any of these, you're doing pretty well, but I think this is a pretty easy round 3, really. We'll see how we go. Well, the first one's pretty easy because it's a 50-50 question. So here we go. Round 3, question 1. Who is older, Kylie Minogue or Danny Minogue? It's a 50-50 question. Who is older, Kylie Minogue or Danny Minogue? Fiona says she failed bad. Failed so bad she hasn't even told us a score. Oh, a shame. Question 2. Most people know that Big Ben refers to the bell and not the clock. Yeah, I was going to do a trick question. I was going to do the old, how many hands does Big Ben have? But I don't hold you in that contempt. I figured you'd see right through that in round 3. So instead, the question is, what is the name of the tower that houses Big Ben? So question 2, most people know that Big Ben refers to the bell and not the clock. But what is the official name of the tower that houses Big Ben? Question 3, what was distinctive about the Tyrrell P34 and Williams FW08 Formula One cars? A little bit wishy-washy question, I realize, but these 2 cars are particularly unique, if you can have 2 things that are unique. So question 3, what was distinctive about the Tyrrell P34 and Williams FW08 Formula One cars? It's round 3, so that's a little bit obscure. Question 4, Florence Nightingale had an unusual pet named Athena. What kind of animal was it? Question 4, Florence Nightingale had an unusual pet named Athena. What kind of animal was it? I realize I'm rushing through round 3 a little bit, so I'll give you a few seconds to catch up on that one. First one was who is older, Kylie or Danny? Second one was what's the name of the tower that houses Big Ben? Question 3, what was distinctive about those 2 Formula One cars? And question 4, what was Florence Nightingale's unusual pet? What type of animal was it? Question 5. In 1994, a Macquarie University student named David Kang fired a starter's pistol twice at which public figure about to make a speech in Darling Harbour in Sydney? Question 5. In 1994, a Macquarie University student named David Kang fired a starter's pistol twice at which public figure about to make a speech in Darling Harbour in Sydney? So for question 5, we want the name of the public figure who had the starter pistol fired twice at him. Or her. Question 6. Which model of Ford Falcon was produced in Australia from 1998 to 2002? So all the models of Falcons, they have particular codes associated with them. So question 6, which model of Ford Falcon was produced in Australia from 1998 to 2002? A little bit obscure. Maybe. Maybe not. Some people are crazy about their Ford Falcons and their Holden Commodores. Question 7. What was the name of the deep ocean drilling rig which sank in the Gulf of Mexico in April 2010, causing an environmental disaster? Question 7. What was the name of the deep ocean drilling rig which sank in the Gulf of Mexico in April 2010, causing an environmental disaster? I'm sure you remember it was this sort of floating oil rig thing with a big drill that went down to the sea floor, and it basically caught fire and sank. And the pipe that was going into the ocean floor to get the oil out was just left billowing all this oil out into the sea. It was really bad, and they had to figure out a way to seal it up. They're trying to blow up the hole and all kinds of things. So yeah, question 7 was, what was the name of the deep ocean drilling rig which sank in the Gulf of Mexico in April 2010, causing an environmental disaster? I want the name of the oil rig, I guess you'd call it. Question 8, the band UB40 took their name from what? Question 8, the band UB40 took their name from what? Remember UB40? They were kind of a reggae kind of band. That song Kingston Town, probably a few others that don't spring readily to mind. Not a big fan, but what does their name mean? Where did they get their name from, UB40? Question 9. I normally do this as a tiebreaker, but it doesn't really work as a tiebreaker in this format, so we made it around 3. Pierrot has never heard of them. That's because you are a young person, Pierrot. That's why you haven't heard of them, and why you haven't watched all the good movies ever made. Simone says, they do crap covers. I don't know why I did your voice in that voice, Simone. Sorry. Yeah, they didn't do some. Yeah. Oh, Red Red Wine, I remember they did. That's right. That's right. Elated Matt. Anyway, what are we up to? Question 9. Normally a tiebreaker, but in this instance, you'll just have to go for it. To the nearest 100,000, what figure did the 1921 Australian census report as the population of Australia? So normally I would do a closest answer wins type thing for a tiebreaker, but for this case, we'll just say to the nearest 100,000, what figure did the 1921 Australian census report as the population of Australia? Have a go. See what you reckon. I have a deep voice for a woman, says Simone. But do you have the Aussie accent, hey? I've gone a bit Kiwi with that one. What are we up to? Question 10. The end of round 3. Which classic novel ends with the words, "It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done. It is a far, far better rest that I go to than I have ever known"? So question 10, which classic novel? Yes, you can have a point for the novel and a point for the author. Why not? Which classic novel ends with the words, "It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done. It is a far, far better rest that I go to than I have ever known"? Which classic novel ends with those words? Simone says, I'm quite well-spoken. I think you can be well-spoken and have an Australian accent, but probably not to the extent that I was putting it on before. Right, so that's the end of round 3. I'll give you a minute or two to think about that. I always say a minute or two. I usually mean about 20 seconds. Right. Let's go through the answers to round 3. It's going to be the decider in the King household. All right, question 1. Who is older, Kylie Minogue or Danny Minogue? The answer is Kylie Minogue is older. Question 2. Most people know that Big Ben refers to the bell and not the clock. What is the name of the tower that houses Big Ben? Well, ever since 2012, it's been officially known as Elizabeth Tower. Of course, it's the clock tower of the Houses of Parliament building, but its official title is Elizabeth Tower. It was renamed from simply the Clock Tower in 2012 to mark the Diamond Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II. So the answer to question 2 is Elizabeth Tower. Question 3, what was distinctive about the Tyrrell P34 and the Williams FW08 Formula One cars? They had 6 wheels, believe it or not. Back when the rules about Formula One cars were a bit more relaxed and there's a bit more crazy technical stuff going on, those 2 teams had a crack at making a 6-wheeled Formula One car. And they worked okay, not super great. And then I think they eventually got outlawed anyway. So the answer to question 3 is they had 6 wheels. Question 4, Florence Nightingale had an unusual pet named Athena. What kind of animal was it? Excuse me, it was an owl. She rescued it from children after it fell from a tree in Athens. She hand-reared the owl, carrying it in the pocket of her apron, and it was her constant companion for over 5 years. Simone Bailey wrote automatic transmission. I'm assuming that's not what you thought Florence Nightingale's pet was, and you, in fact, think it was the Formula One cars. No, they would have been all manual back then anyway. I mean, they're still basically manual now. They shift when asked, but they're not automatic. Later, Matt put weasel. A pet weasel. It would be funny if Florence Nightingale had a pet weasel. I don't know why that would be funny, but it would be. Question 5. In 1994, a Macquarie University student named David Kang fired a starter's pistol twice at which public figure? I sort of let it slip that it was... I know, Simone, I'm only kidding. That it was a male public figure, and it was, of course, Prince Charles. Fun fact, David Kang, the student who fired that starter's pistol, is now a barrister. Fair enough, Simone. Yeah. But no, the thing that was distinctive about them was that they had 6 wheels. Question 6. Question 5 was Prince Charles. Question 6, which model of Ford Falcon was the AU Falcon? Alpha Uniform? Tries to remember his native phonetic alphabet. Yes, AU Falcon. It was between the EF and the BA. I think it was generally regarded as not a great model from memory. But anyway, question 7. What was the name of the deep ocean drilling rig which fell into the sea and caught fire and made oil go everywhere? That was the Deepwater Horizon. So Deepwater Horizon. Related Matt says, I shook Prince Charles's hand once. Didn't fire a pistol at him though. Okay, that's a slightly better anecdote than the I went to the desert and it was dry one. But it's not exactly the basis for a biography. All right, good. What are we up to? I'll stop insulting the listeners and get on with the questions. Question 7 was Deepwater Horizon. I'm working on them, says Matt. Question 8, the band UB40 got their name from the unemployment benefits form that you used to fill in. If you didn't have a job and you wanted to get some unemployment benefits, you had to fill in a UB40 form. So that's where they got their names from, the unemployment benefits form. Question 9, to the nearest 100,000, I'll be very impressed if anyone got this. What figure did the 1921 Australian census report as the population of Australia? The actual answer, if we were doing this as a tiebreaker, the actual answer is 5,435,700 people. So that would be 5.4 million to the nearest 100,000. Pretty impressive. 1921, 5.4 million. What are we now? We're pushing like 25 now, 2020. So 100 years, we've added a lot. 20 million people. All right. And question 10, which classic novel ends with that quite long quote? It is A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. You can have a point for A Tale of Two Cities, and you can have a point for Charles Dickens. Let me know how you went in round 3. I'm deathly quiet in the comments. Oh, because I didn't scroll down. 5 from Matt, 5 from Kim, 3 from Simone. All pretty good for round 3. I always say if you get any in round 3, you're doing pretty well. But I think that was a relatively easy round 3. It was mostly just kind of normal factual questions instead of being weird, tricky, impossible ones or trick ones. Peter says, I'm back. You got 8 points in round 3. That's pretty good. Considering you only got 12 in round 2, that is pretty good. Pierre got 1. Pierre got 1 for knowing Kylie. Fiona got 3. Pretty good. Simone, 3. Matt would have been 6 if I'd remembered to write Dickens. Davey got 8. And Pierrot got 1, which, as we all know, is not 0. Very good. All right. I think we can have a tiebreaker now. Which, as always, if you want to play it as a tiebreaker, you can. If you just want to play it as normal, you can. Pierre tied with Pierre. Narelle 2, Stephen 3. Absolutely asks Tale of Two Cities in Dickens. Very good. It's a shame you guys would, if you'd been on a tiebreaker, you could have used this tiebreaker question. We seem to disagree about what constitutes easy and hard questions. Yeah, I know. It's tricky to judge. Every question seems easy when it's in your wheelhouse. And if it's not in your wheelhouse, then it seems very tricky, although it might be easy for someone else. Right. So let's have a who am I question. We're going to have 2 of them because the first one's very quick. So the way these work is if you happen to be in a tiebreaker situation, then I'm going to read out clues one at a time about a person or a place or a thing or a year or whatever. If you think you know the answer as we go along, then have a crack at it. If you get it right, you win the tiebreaker. If you get it wrong, you lose. The other person wins the tiebreaker. So you want to be quick, but you need to be correct. I knew the UB40 one because of a magazine I used to read ages ago, says Simone. Final scores, Narelle 31.5, Stephen 32.5. It finally happened. Sounds of popping champagne corks across the country. All right, so yeah, that's how the way the tiebreaker works. And if you are not in a tiebreaker situation, then just have a crack at it. Okay, so here we go. Well, I'm going to do 2. The first one's very quick, second one less so. Who am I? I am a city of the world. Of the cities in the world with over 1 million inhabitants, I am the northernmost. I am home to the largest art museum in the world. I was the capital city of my country until 1918, and I'm still the second largest city in my country. I am on the Neva River at the head of the Gulf of Finland on the Baltic Sea. Between 1924 and 1991, I was known as Leningrad, and before that, Petrograd. Founded by Tsar Peter the Great in 1703, I am St. Petersburg. So the answer to our Who Am I is St. Petersburg. I actually went there in 2016, back in those heady days when you could actually leave your house, never mind your country and your continent, and it was beautiful, I have to say. I was there in the middle of summer, the midnight sun stretching across the huge facades of the buildings in the big square there. Absolutely stunning. That was an easy one. Okay, let's do a less easy one. We'll do another Who Am I if you happen to be still in a tiebreaker. Same rules as before. Who am I? I was born in 1974 in Croydon, Greater London. Greater London. I don't know why the sentence ended the way that did. I was born in 1974 in Croydon, Greater London. My parents were a barmaid and an airline employee. My parents divorced when I was 13. When I was returning from a holiday in the Bahamas at age 14, I was spotted at JFK Airport by a model management agent. At age 16, I was photographed in black and white as a young unknown in a style that became known as dirty realism or grunge. I then featured in a Levi's ad campaign with great success. I was an early member of the heroin chic generation of supermodels due to my thin, waif-like frame, in contrast to the tall, curvaceous, and buxom models of the time. In 2005, I lost a £4 million a year modeling contract due to alleged drug use, but was never charged. I think most people have got it by now. I've been associated with most major fashion brands and have appeared multiple times on the covers of major magazines. I've also appeared in several music videos and performed vocally on pop songs by various bands. I was the subject of the largest gold statue made since ancient Egypt. I have designed handbags and various items for my fashion and perfume lines, as well as extensive charity work. I've been ranked the 99th richest woman in the UK, with the first name Catherine. I am more commonly known as Kate Moss. Two pretty easy ones this week. Alrighty then. That brings us to the end of trivia for this week. Thanks for playing along. Hope you had fun. Normally, I like to give a cheery message about how we're all going to beat COVID and it's all improving and we can all leave our houses soon. But no, it's all going to hell in a handbasket again. It's all kicking off in New South Wales and Victoria and everywhere. So I don't know why I read the news sites. It just makes me anxious. Anyway, hopefully we can get through it again without too much drama again. And regardless, hope to see you all next week. I haven't mentioned it yet this week, but if you do want to be informed of future events, go to the Facebook page, Virtual Aussie Pub Quiz. No worries, Peter. Have fun in sunny Melbourne. No worries, Narelle and Steve and Pierre and Simone, everybody. Yes, so you can like that page on Facebook, or you can subscribe to the video channel thing on YouTube, or just tune in a bit before 7:30 p.m. Sydney time on Tuesday. All right. Glad you had fun. See you next time. And yes, stay safe. Bye.